Welcome to Forum 360, a global outlook with a local view. We're a nonprofit grant and donation funded program that depends on volunteer hosts who present a wide variety of topics. Go to forum360.org to find out more about us and how to access our TV, radio, and YouTube programs. I'm your host, Pat Simons. For more than a century, Summit County Children's Services has improved the lives of abused and neglected children and their families by promoting child safety, permanency, and well-being. The issues of child abuse and neglect are not unique to certain zip codes or demographics. In recent years, the opioid crisis has further expanded the need for foster and adoptive families across Summit County. All of Ohio's 88 counties have felt the effects. It's my pleasure to have Ream, Director of Community Relations, and Traci Foley, Foster Care Supervisor from Summit County Children's Services, in the studio with me today. We're going to talk about their agency's rising needs and tell us about their newest programs to help meet the challenges. Welcome. We're glad to have you.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Thank you.
We have so much to talk about. Anne, I thought we could start off with you and tell us a little bit about yourself and why you choose to do this kind of work.
Okay, well, my name is Ream, and I've been a social worker at Summit County Children's Services for over 26 years. Okay. I chose the field of child welfare because I've really felt that it was one of the best ways to impact children and families in Summit County.
And Traci, how about you?
My name's Traci Foley. I'm currently the Foster Care Supervisor at Summit County Children's Services. I've been at Summit County Children's Services for just over 2.5 years. However, I have over 20 years experience in the child welfare field, working for several other counties in similar positions. And I got into this field because my very first job was working with children in a residential facility, seeing the impact that child abuse neglect had on them, and I wanted to be part of the solution.
Well, thank you. Now, the website tells us about the history of Summit County Children's Services and explains how it has evolved from an institutional care to individualized care and placement. You have some very powerful mission, values, and vision statements. Tell us how that guides you in your care today.
Okay, yes, we do have a proud history here in Summit County, beginning way back in 1881. And in 1910, we opened up the old children's home that many of us who have lived in the area are familiar with the location on South Arlington Street. We started off as an orphanage, taking care of children who needed a home, who were in dependent type of situations. And over the years, we've really morphed more into family-like settings, making sure that we are responding to child abuse and neglect concerns in Summit County, and that has stayed very similar to our original missions. And now we're really making sure that we're responding to abuse and neglect, but making sure that children are in a least restrictive setting. And really, along with our vision and values, making sure that we're doing everything that we can to partner with our families that live in Summit County where there are concerns, to strengthen their families and try to make sure that whenever possible we can keep the children in their own home and prevent removal. So we partner with many different community collaborative agencies to strengthen the families and to assure that if children can safely stay in their own homes, that they do so.
A very big but a very important job. Now, your agency works under state and federal laws, and your website talks about the 5 mandates of child welfare. Can you describe those for me?
Sure. First and foremost is assessment and investigation. So that's really our mandate. We're the only agency in Summit County whose mandate is to respond to child abuse and neglect concerns. So that's our job. Through our 24/7 hotline, we receive calls from concerned citizens or mandated reporters throughout Summit County and above that if there is suspicion of child abuse and neglect, then we receive those calls through our hotline and then we respond to them. If they meet the screening guidelines and it's set to and assigned to a caseworker and a supervisor, those cases, then we respond to those concerns of child abuse and neglect. So that's one of our mandates, is assessment and investigation. We try to look at family strengths when we're out there and respond to the families and address the challenge areas that our families have. So that's one of the mandates. Also, child safety well-being and permanency, as well as reunification. So I had talked earlier about making sure that we're doing everything that we can to strengthen the families and to prevent removal, but sometimes, unfortunately, removal is essential to the safety of children in our community. And through one of the mandates of reunification, then what we try to do is work with the family then and pick up the pieces and see if we can reunify with their family members. And if not, we're really looking at kinship. You know, who is in their family that can care for them and strengthen those connections with their ongoing family or kinship support. So many of our children are currently placed with kinship families in this community.
Well, it sounds like a very comprehensive outline of a care plan that you follow by Ohio Revised Code and federal laws, but you can create your own local policies to also meet those needs, your own programs.
That's right.
Now, you do describe a list of different kinds of care: kinship care, foster care, independent living services, and adoption. Those are all well described on your website. But I found one interesting. It's called Waiting Child Profiles. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, on our website, we do have profiles of children that are listed with their pictures and a brief bio on the children that are available for adoption. There are children that are in our permanent custody, which would mean that their parental rights of their parents have been terminated and they are up for adoption. They are waiting for their forever home. At this time, we have just a little over 160 children that are in our permanent custody, and that's who you see as far as our waiting child profiles. And about 50 of them do not have any specific plan, meaning so we have to really recruit and find unique ways to make sure that these children have their forever families through legal permanence. So that means that the children are in our permanent custody and we're looking to create with them forever families for those children.
Well, looking at those little faces makes it very personal.
It sure does.
Makes
Yeah.
it, you understand that they're out there and they're needing assistance and placement. Now, you describe one of your most critical services as your 24-hour abuse hotline, 330-434-5437. Can you tell us what that does, if someone calls in, why they would call in?
Yeah, sure. That's our hotline, and it's open 24/7. We have social workers that are actually manning the phones there in our hotline that are trained to really, it's the initial assessment. So when we have a caller that's concerned of abuse, neglect, dependency concerns for children in our community, a social worker is on the other line really asking a lot of questions. So we try to gather as much information as possible through our hotline. And again, that's our initial assessment before it gets through the screening process and then assigned to a frontline caseworker and supervisor for a full assessment investigation. So it's really our front door.
It's also very assuring to the public that there's a person on the other end who can offer help immediately.
That's right.
When the need arises. You also mentioned prevention programs, and I'm not sure people always think about care in those ways. Why do you feel prevention is important?
Well,
And what kinds of programs?
Sure. So prevention is important because then we hope that we can work with the family to strengthen them and to prevent any further potential trauma to a child or to families. We do have programming that we offer, like 30 Days to Family is an initiative to help get kin involved with the family to help make further connections for family and children to strengthen that family. We have the Ohio Start program that we just started to participate in. It's specialized services to address families who are challenged with addiction. Specialized services for children who might have experienced trauma, but also services for their parents who may be really suffering with addiction to help them on their journey to recovery and treatment for those specialized needs. So those are just a couple examples.
It's a very important concept to offer prevention before something either gets out of control or something that can be nipped in the bud and worked on initially. Now, recent statistics say that you have approximately 800 children currently in your care and only approximately 160 foster homes available. That number fluctuates, but it's right around those numbers. Describe what your primary needs are at this time, given those statistics, and what actions are you taking?
Okay, so with those numbers in mind, clearly we are in need of foster and adoptive homes for these children. You know, we do a really great job trying to make sure that children are safe in their own homes and prevent removal when possible. But when removal is inevitable, we really need foster homes. And so we have connected and collaborated with a marketing firm to help us with our Be the Reason campaign.
Oh, Be the Reason.
Be the Reason
Okay.
campaign. And it's sort of a wide stretching campaign to bring awareness to the need for foster and adoption homes for our kids. So with having about 800 children in custody, we can't find relatives for all of the children where kids can go. So we certainly then, our next option is to turn to our foster parents, who also partner with our agency to meet the needs of these children who have ongoing needs, who need to be safe, who need to be part of a family. So our Be the Reason campaign is really helping us work towards that approach and bringing the awareness, letting the community know that we have this critical need and that we need them. It's on so many people's hearts out in the community that said, I've always thought about it, or I've once thought about it. You know, gee, maybe today's not the time, but maybe tomorrow is. So I think the Be the Reason campaign will help us really spread the word all throughout Summit County and beyond that we have this critical need.
So the public should put their ear to the ground and listen for this campaign.
Right.
They'll hear more and more about this. I just want to tell our audience that if you're just joining us, this is Forum 360, and I'm your host, Pat Simons. I'm speaking with Ream, Director of Community Relations, and Traci Foley, of Foster Care Supervisor at Summit County Children's Services. Traci, can you tell us more about how to become a foster parent and the adoption process, how that all works together?
Oh, sure, Pat. So in order to become a foster parent, and this would be through any county in the state of Ohio, there's a requirement of 36 hours of what we call pre-service training. Okay. That training is taken, and then there is an application to be filled out. After that, then we also look into, financial resources for the family. We do a criminal background check as well as local checks. We look for any criminal history, or we also look for any child abuse and neglect history. We do those kind of backgrounds. The process from application to finish is approximately 6 months. I know at Summit County we really strive to have that done within 4 months, but because of all the paperwork and all the background checking that we do, it does take some time. Interviews with all family members that live in the household take place as part of this assessment, not just those who are applying to become the foster parents. We also ask that families really look at their support system and who can help them through this journey. As we all know, they can't do it alone, and these children have had some challenges, and so we like the family to have that support. So we ask that they do identify some alternate caregivers that would be able to assist them if they need it. Okay. So that process, is part of that process, the home study process. And then once all the assessment is done, then the state of Ohio, we make a recommendation to the state of Ohio to become a licensed foster parent. Now we do in tandem an adoption approval, as the state requires us to do. Unless a family is adamant that they just want to foster, we do a dual licensure, foster home license, and an adoption approval, so that if in the future a placement becomes permanent for them, they do have the ability to adopt.
Well, I can tell you from personal experience, I have a very dear friend who that is the process that they went through. They went through foster care with the option to adopt when the time was right. They have 3 children
that's
through
so
that
exciting.
process.
Yes.
So I guess what I'm getting from this is if you decide to take on being a foster parent, you're never alone. There's lots of services and support, and you're going to work with them. So no one's ever out there alone as a foster
absolutely
parent.
not. Yes, at Summit County, we do offer a lot of support to our foster parents. They not only have a network of foster parents that they will get to meet once they join our team, but at Summit County, we do assign a foster home coordinator per family. Currently, we have 6 foster home coordinators who manage the about 164 homes, and they're available to them. You know, just as children and families have their social worker, the foster families have their own
No,
that
that's
can
good.
help them navigate the system, because it is challenging and not always the easiest to figure out. So these foster home coordinators help them through that. And it could be as simple as, how do I get clothing for a child, to more complex, ranging visitation, or just hearing them out when they have challenges. So they're available to them. We also have a foster parent association who reaches out to all of our foster parents when they become licensed, to let them know they're there, and that is another support for them that they can reach out to. They can start to build their network. If they are limited in some support, they can reach out to those individuals who will also help them. And we have a lot of senior foster homes who are more than willing to provide mentoring services for our foster parents.
It's very assuring,
Yes.
very assuring. So these are some options. What if you're a community member? What are some ways you can help that might not be foster or adoption?
Well, I think, you know, the agency has other opportunities for volunteering at events that we host. We also have we take donations for our foster children and children who come into our agency, even just for services. They don't necessarily have to come into our custody when we help families, but we take items from gift cards, you know, to clothing. We have a bed program, Beds for Kids, where we do, if it's a matter of a family needing a bed, that, like kinship, if they need placement and all they need is a bed, we'll provide that to them. So there are many services like that we would be willing to work with people on if they cannot.
And you have a website link that helps the public go in and access that, and then be in contact with you and find out what the needs are. I want to give a shout out to your Women's Auxiliary Board. They do phenomenal work, and they were the first in the country of this kind, 1949. And I think it's a real proud heritage for Summit County to claim that. And I know they help you in many ways with donation and volunteering.
They sure do. We're excited to have them as partners, and have long-term partners with us. They just celebrated last year 70 years, so it's been exciting to have them part as our really extension of our team, to help us really meet our mission and to meet the needs of the children in our community.
And that's something too the public can look into who might want to join them.
That's right.
Yes.
And that is on your website. I want to talk a little bit about your financial origins. Now, you make some very strong statements in your vision and value statements about being fiscally responsible and good stewards of taxpayer resources. Can you tell us where your primary and supplemental funds come from? We know you can accept donations, but talk about the other funding.
Well, dialing back to last November, we were on the ballot,
Right.
and that was a renewal of our 2.25 renewal levy. And so we want to really thank all of Summit County for coming out and supporting us and voting for that, not only renewal, but the 1 mil increase too.
Right.
So we'll start collecting that property tax levy funding next April.
Oh, wow.
So that is a 6-year levy renewal with the 1 mil increase. That combined will be just a little bit over 60% of our operating budget. We also have 4E reimbursement and some small state allocations, monies that come from the state. But we are still one of the lowest in the nation in terms of state allocations for public child welfare.
Interesting. So the county levies really help.
Absolutely, it's absolutely critical to our ongoing ability to respond to child abuse and neglect in Summit County.
Well, and a 6-year status for a levy at least helps you plan.
That's right. That's right.
It gives you some day-to-day planning. Do you want to talk a little bit about your structure, about how you have a board, you have an administrative team? But one group I thought was really interesting is you have a citizen advisory committee. And I was so impressed by the many, many organizations that work together to help each child.
That's right. We can't do it alone, and we do have a board of trustees that help guide our executive director and our agency moving forward. Those are appointed positions, and then we have a citizens advisory committee who also is made up of public agencies. We have some people in the business community as well as faith-based community. Our partners really to look at how we guide and direct our work. Yeah, so those boards are very critical to our work.
I was very impressed. Yeah. Again, your website's a wealth of information to learn more about what they do. It's very reassuring. You have all these different bodies coming together to have the same goal of doing the good things for kids. I want to compliment you on your website. I was very impressed with it. It's so easy to navigate, and I got a lot of good quality information from it. I would highly recommend that our audience explores your website. They can go to www.summitkids.org, and again, they'll find the 24-hour child abuse and neglect hotline, 330-434-5437. Now, we've got a little extra time. Is there something you would like to add to what we've been talking about?
I want to be sure that the next critical number would be our inquiry line. So when we talk about the Be the Reason campaign and the need for foster and adoptive homes, we need folks to know that it's really just a phone call away, and our inquiry number is 330-379-1990.
330-379-1990. That's where they can get information on Be the Reason, the campaign. What time span now this is up and running, the campaign right now?
We kind of have had a soft unveiling, so you will see in the very near future really our campaign go countywide. So you'll see our billboards up, you'll see our digital ads up, more recruitment events. We've been out in some of the community events during outreach to just educate a little bit about our needs and to get the Be the Reason campaign out there, but you'll see it more widespread soon coming out.
Great. And I'm hoping that the Beacon Journal will do some kind of an article on your behalf as well. I haven't seen anything yet.
We'll definitely have the ads in the Beacon Journal.
Good.
Most definitely we'll have the digital ads, the print ads. So it will be a widespread, far outreaching campaign to share the awareness that we need foster to adopt homes.
Now, where are your offices located?
We're at 264 South Arlington Street in the East Akron area of Akron.
Now, again, I can't help. I keep going back to your website. That started out as a farm. My understanding, that was the Jewett farm that was donated back in the 1800s or something. And you folks are still on that same location. I just find that just charming.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, it really is. And there's administrative offices there now. There have not been children living on the grounds now for some time, about 16 years, because we really have morphed over the years that children deserve a safe and a strong family to live in, and the institutionalization of really a children's home or an orphanage, we've morphed over the years to making sure that children can be with a family because that's what they deserve.
Right. Well, I want to thank both Ann and Traci for raising awareness of Children's Protective Services in Summit County. And I want to thank you for your careful management of resources while you're providing the best quality care that you can. It's been a pleasure to have Summit County Children's Services Community Relations Director Ann Ream and Supervisor of Foster Care Traci Foley bringing us up to date on the important work and needs of the agency. There are many opportunities for the public to assist Summit County Children's Services in the care of innocent children and their families who fall into misfortune that threatens health, safety, and well-being. Whether we can help meet the need as foster families or adoption, or support with tax dollars, volunteer hours, or donation, it takes a village to care. This is Pat Simons. Thank you for joining me on Forum 360. Have a great day.
Forum 360 is brought to you by John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, the Akron Community Foundation, Hudson Community Television, the Rubber City Radio Group, Shaw Jewish Community Center of Akron, Blue Green, Electric Impulse Communications, and Forum 360 supporters.